In this lesson video, we're going to discuss about viewport navigation. First, I will create some teapots in the scene and a plain object. Now, I know we haven't discussed about object creation, but this is not the point of this lesson, so just bear with me now. Okay, to navigate the viewports, we can use several methods. The first method is by using the mouse and the keyboard combination. The second method is using the view cube. And the last method is using the navigation tools located at the right bottom screen. We're going to learn to use the mouse and the keyboard combination method because it is by far the fastest method to navigate around the viewports. If you are using the view cube, which is this transparent cube at the right top area, you need to move your mouse first to the edge of the viewport like this, which takes more time to perform. And also, if you are using the navigation tools down here, you will need to move your mouse even further. These two methods can still be useful in a situation where you couldn't find a standard 3-button mouse, and so you are forced to use your laptop trackpad, for example. Other than these scenarios, it is recommended that you use your mouse and keyboard combination to navigate the viewport. Okay, because we're not going to use the view cube, I will hide the view cube first. To do that, click on this plus sign on the left top area of the viewport, choose View Cube, and click on this Show the View Cube option in here. Now you can see that the view cubes are all gone or hidden. To show it again, you can use the same method, but I will leave this hidden in my UI from now on. Okay, let's begin our lesson with dragging or panning the viewport. To pan the viewport, we can use the middle mouse button. Now, many people don't realize that they have a middle mouse button because it is actually hidden in the scroll wheel. So if you are clicking on the scroll wheel, you actually clicking using the middle mouse button. Again, you need to press the scroll wheel, not rotating it. After you press and hold it, if you drag the mouse, the viewport will pan around. To zoom in and out the viewport, you can rotate the scroll wheel back and forth. So scroll forward to zoom in, and scroll backward to zoom out. Another method to zoom in and out, but with more precision, you can hold Ctrl, Alt, and middle mouse button and move your mouse back and forth. So you should see by now how important it is to use the middle mouse button for navigating the viewport in 3ds Max. And this is true not only for 3ds Max, but almost all 3D software rely heavily on middle mouse button for viewport navigation. Because of this, when you are buying a new mouse for 3D application, just make sure that it has a standard middle mouse button. There are so many types of computer mice out there in the market, and some mice just designed not having a middle mouse button at all. So this is something you need to be aware of. Okay, the last navigation method is rotating the viewport. For this last method, you can only perform this on the perspective viewport. To do this, hold the Alt key and then the middle mouse button and just move around your mouse. As we can see, the viewport will rotate. Now, you need to understand that we're not rotating any objects here. The objects don't move at all. We're simply rotating the view or how we see the objects. Okay? Now you might be asking, why shouldn't I do this on the other viewports? Well, because if you do this on the other viewports, the viewport will change to orthographic viewport. This orthographic viewport looks like a perspective viewport, but notice it doesn't have any vanishing points. To switch a viewport to perspective or the left viewport or any viewport that you want actually, you can click in this text, which is the second label menu at the viewport, and choose any viewport type you want. In this case, I'm changing this back to the left viewport. Okay, the next lesson is about maximizing and minimizing viewports. We actually already covered this a bit in the previous lesson, but we haven't discussed this in depth. To maximize a viewport, the first thing you need to do is determining which viewport is the active viewport. Active viewport is indicated by this yellowish frame around the viewport. To make a certain viewport become the active viewport, we can simply right-click on any of them. For example, let's pick the perspective viewport again by right-clicking in here. Then, to toggle this active viewport between maximize mode and minimize mode, we can simply click on this button at the most right bottom corner. We can try on this viewport. or this one. Okay, now if you are using Alt W shortcut to maximize and minimize viewport, the active viewport is not really that important. What is important is the location of your mouse cursor. So for example, if your mouse cursor is at this location, pressing Alt W will automatically make the viewport beneath the mouse cursor become active and then maximize it right away. Another example, let's move the mouse cursor on this viewport, Alt W again. I'm sure you get the idea here. The next thing we're going to discuss in terms of viewport navigation is the zoom extend technique. In my opinion, this is a very important technique that you need to know. If we select an object, for example this teapot, and click this zoom extend button in here, we can see 3ds Max will zoom in to that particular object. Most of the time, I don't use this button, but prefer the shortcut, which is the Z letter key. Okay, now what if we don't have any object selected? What happens if we press Z or perform zoom extend? If nothing is selected, pressing this zoom extend or pressing Z will make all of the objects in the scene to be in frame in the viewport. This is helpful in a scenario where, for example, we rotate and zoom away from the origin and we just kind of lost in space. If this ever happened to you, just press Z and your viewport will zoom back to the objects you are working on before, or view all of the objects in a scene. Okay, viewport navigation is a very important skill that you need to master first before moving on to more advanced lessons in this course. So just make sure you practice a little and become familiar with it. Okay, if we look at the third and the fourth label menu in the viewport, these two are used to determine how 3D objects will be displayed inside the viewport. If you click on this one, down here we have the lighting and shadow section where we can turn on and turn off lights and shadows, etc. In the materials section, we can enable or disable transparency and also some other options in here. You can play around with these settings and see which one you like best. If you are not sure which settings to turn on or off, you can simply choose one of the presets up here. We have high quality preset, standard, performance, and DirectX mode preset. For now, I will stick with the standard preset in here. The last settings we want to look at are the ones located inside the last label menu. If we click on it, we can see several settings. We have facets, which basically remove all of the smooth effects from the surfaces. Or we can pick clay in here, which uses ZBrush style matcap material. You can just try and see which one you like. In the stylized sub-menu, we can even find more display effects inside it, such as this color pencil. Now honestly, I have no idea why we would want to use these stylized display modes, but they are there if you ever need them. For now, I will stick with the default shading option at the top. Now you need to understand that all of these settings we get from these two label menus, they are all affecting only the viewport display, meaning it will not change our object or affecting the final rendering. There are two modes that I usually find helpful when modeling, and that will be this Edge Faces option and this Wireframe Override. The Edge Faces option will draw the edges of the objects in the viewport, which is very helpful in the modeling process. The shortcut for this Edge Faces is F4. So press F4 to show the edges, and press F4 again to hide them. The wireframe mode will remove all of the surface rendering, so we only see the edges or the wireframe of it. The shortcut for this mode is F3. And it is a toggle function also. So pressing F3 again will bring us back to the standard display mode.